Join me as I take on the wild and see if I can survive a night camping in the woods while hunting for monsters. So you guys know I'm an avid monster hunter, and I've had my fair share of close calls and crazy experiences. But this trip was something else. We decided to take our monster hunting to the next level by camping deep in the woods, and boy, did we get more than we bargained for. The idea was to get up close and personal with the creatures, to track them down in their natural habitat, and to see if we could survive a night in the wild while doing it. Little did we know, the wild had other plans for us. The first issue we faced was the weather. The forecast said clear skies, but Mother Nature had other plans. A storm rolled in, and we were caught off guard. The wind was howling, the rain was pouring down, and we were stuck in the middle of nowhere with minimal gear. We managed to set up a makeshift tent, but it was far from waterproof. We were soaked to the bone, and morale was low. To make matters worse, we soon realized that we were not alone in the woods. We had some unwanted visitors, bears, raccoons, and who knows what else. We did our best to scare them off, but they just wouldn't leave us alone. We were on high alert, constantly listening for any sign of movement, any rustling in the bushes. It was like walking on eggshells, never knowing when something would pop out and attack us, and if that wasn't enough, our equipment started failing us. Our GPS stopped working, our flashlights died, and our tent poles snapped in the wind. We were literally stuck in the dark, fighting for our lives. It was a nightmare come true. We arrived at the campsite early in the morning, eager to start our monster hunt. We set up camp, built a fire, and started preparing for the night ahead. We were all excited, chatting, and laughing, enjoying the great outdoors. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and we were feeling like kings of the forest. We took a few hours to explore the surrounding area, tracking down potential monster habitats and setting up traps. As the sun started to set, we gathered around the campfire, swapping stories and sharing tales of our past monster hunting adventures. We were all having a great time, but deep down, we knew that this was just the calm before the storm. We were waiting for the perfect moment to start our hunt, to track down those monsters and get the evidence we needed. As we settled in for the night, we heard a strange noise in the distance. At first, we thought it was just the wind or a stray animal, but then it got louder, closer. We froze, our hearts pounding in our chests. That's when we saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring back at us. We were face to face with a monster, and our lives would never be the same again. The next few hours were a blur. We fought for our lives, running, screaming, and fighting off the creature. It was a struggle like no other, and we barely made it out alive. We managed to escape, but not without scars, physical and emotional. Looking back, I realized that we were ill-prepared for the adventure we embarked on. We took unnecessary risks, and we paid the price. But I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. It was a harsh reminder of the power of nature and the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. So, what's your worst camping story? Have you ever faced a monster in the wild? Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more outdoor adventure content. Join me as I brave the wilderness and see if I can survive the absolute worst camping night ever. I've had my fair share of camping mishaps, but one particular night still haunts me to this day. It was a disaster that I won't forget, and I'm excited to share it with you. The trip started off on the wrong foot, with dark clouds gathering on the horizon. We pitched our tents in a hurry, just as the rain started pouring down. I mean, we're talking torrential rain, the kind that makes you question your life choices. The wind was howling, and the tent was shaking like it was going to collapse at any minute. We huddled together, trying to stay warm and dry, but it was a losing battle. To make matters worse, we soon realized that we had pitched our tent in a spot that was basically a swamp. The ground was soggy, and our gear was getting soaked by the minute. I was getting frustrated, but my friend, Alex, was getting worried. He's a city boy, and this was his first camping trip. He was convinced that we were going to get struck by lightning or eaten by a bear. The weather was bad, but things took a turn for the worse when we heard a strange noise outside our tent. At first, we thought it was just the wind, but then we heard it again, a loud, growling sound. We froze, our hearts racing, as we tried to figure out what it was. We slowly unzipped the tent and peered outside, and that's when we saw it, a massive raccoon, rummaging through our trash. The raccoon was huge, with beady eyes and sharp teeth. We were terrified, but we knew we had to chase it away. We made some noise, and it scampered off, but not before it had stolen our food. We were left with nothing but a few energy bars and some stale crackers. As the night wore on, things only got more intense. The wind started to pick up, and the tent was flapping like crazy. We were getting tired, but we knew we had to stay awake and keep an eye out for any more wildlife. We huddled together, telling ghost stories and trying to stay calm, but then disaster struck. A loud gust of wind came through, and our tent pole snapped in half. The tent came crashing down, and we were left exposed to the elements. We scrambled to get our gear together and find some shelter, but it was too late. The rain was pouring down, and we were getting soaked to the bone. We ended up huddling together under a tree, shivering and miserable. It was a long, cold night, but we finally made it through. When the sun came up, we packed up our gear and headed back to civilization. It was a rough night, but we learned a valuable lesson. Always check the weather forecast before you go camping, and never underestimate the power of a raccoon. Looking back on that night, I realized that it was a bit of a disaster, but it was also an adventure. It taught me to be more prepared and to always expect the unexpected. And hey, it makes for a great story. So, if you've had a worse camping experience, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more camping adventures, check out my other video on camping in the mountains. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.